Hello, let's see how to use the Primavera for the project management. Let's have an intro to project management. Basically, project management is application of knowledge, skills, tools and techniques to project activities in order to meet or exceed stakeholder needs and expectations from a project. Project management process can be organized into 5 groups of one or more processes like initiating process, planning process, executing process, controlling process and closing process. Initiating process recognizes that a project or phase should begin or committing to do so. Planning process devising and maintaining a workable scheme to accomplish the business need that a project was undertaken to address. Executing process includes coordinating people and other resources to carry out the plan. And the main controlling process ensures that the project objectives are met by monitoring and measuring progress and taking corrective action whenever necessary. And the closing process formalizing acceptance of the project or phase and bringing it to an orderly end. Now let us understand the Primavera P6 architecture now and also see how project management can be handled using the Primavera software. This Primavera comes in 2 modules, core application and web application. Core application is further having project management module and methodology module. Project management module is nothing but is a multi-user, multi-project system with scheduling and resource control capabilities. Methodology management is a module which is a system for authoring and storing methodologies or project plan templates in a central location. Every web user can create customized dashboards that provide individualized and focused view of the specific projects and categories of a project data that are most relevant to the role in managing project portfolios, project and resources. After getting this software P6 and installing in your system, this will be your welcome screen, and by default the username and password will be admin in small letters. If I enter the login as admin and password and enter and clicking on OK, I will get into the next screen. The basic structures to understand Primavera there will be 3: EPS, OBS and WBS. EPS is Enterprise Project Structure. This is nothing but hierarchical structure identifying the company-wide projects and enabling organizing and managing the projects. For example, if I am owning a company and I have branches at 25 states in India, so I would be having these 25 states in an order, in a structure which can be called as enterprise project structure. So to create EPS, we go to enterprise in the menu bar and select enterprise project structure, and thereby we click on this add button to create the structure, and thereby we can adjust the levels of EPS in the structure by clicking these 4 arrows. We can indent left, right, or we can shift up and down. This is how we can create the enterprise project structure. If suppose I am having some project at Andhra Pradesh and subcategory I can divide it by Hyderabad, Visakhapatnam, Vijayawada. If suppose I am having branches at 3 locations in a single state, I can do that by in the level 2. Next we go to OBS, Organizational Breakdown Structure. OBS is the structure of management responsible at the EPS project WBS level. Each manager in the OBS is associated with his area of the EPS either by EPS node or by project, and the WBS of the particular level of hierarchy. Generally we use OBS to assign the responsibility for the activities or for the projects. User access and privileges shall be implemented through this OBS. To create OBS, activate enterprise, then we get OBS. If I click on OBS, we get this wizard. To add OBS, similarly we click on this add button and we adjust with this 4 arrows buttons for the indenting. Now let's see how to add a project. These are the pre-requirement before creating a project. These are one-time basis. This will be done on one-time basis. Now adding a project. Let us see how the actual scheduling work from here onwards. Go to file and click on new project. It will be shown as new. That means that it is a new project. Once we click on new, the wizard will be asking for selecting the EPS. We can select the EPS from the previously designed EPS structure. Now I am selecting this EPS node from this EPS structure. Now it will be asking for the project ID. I can design my project ID as desired, or else it will be by default it will be having the new project as the project ID. I can give my user defined project ID and I can mention the project name even. Now it will be asking for the next screen, start date and must finish by. Planned start date. I can mention the start date if you are sure about the date, or else it would be taking the current date as the start date by default. Must finish by will be used as a constraint. Like if I have the pre-targeted date, I can assign the target date so that the schedule can show the last finish date as this, the mentioned finish by date, or else it would be going by the given logic, relationship logic. On the next screen, it would be asking for the responsible OBS person for this entire project. I can assign it, or else I can leave it blank for future assigning. Now it will be asking for the rate type. Rate type, this would be useful when we enter the resources and respective rates regarding the contracting. Now if we click finish, the project has been created successfully. We get a successful message. Now let's see how to start with the WBS. WBS is nothing but work breakdown structure. This work breakdown structure is almost similar to a skeleton of the project. Level 1 of the schedule can be called as a WBS. WBS is nothing but a hierarchical arrangement of the activities and tasks produced during a project. The project is the highest level, while an individual activity is the lowest level. Now the EPS has been further divided into WBS. Like for Hyderabad, I have a project. Now Hyderabad project can be further divided into WBS. Now let's see how to create the WBS. Open a particular, now the newly created project can be opened by right clicking and selecting open project, or the shortcut is Ctrl O. Now you can click on this. By default, when we open a project, we will be landing upon this activities window. Now you can go to project. You can see the WBS. Click here. Now you can create WBS codes by clicking on this add button, and when you can mention the description here. You can give the code and you can give the detailed description of the WBS here. Further, you can adjust the levels of the hierarchy by using these 4 arrows, indenting, inwards, outwards, or shifting up and down. These are the 4 arrows. That's what I'm talking about. Here you can mention about the responsible manager. See, for each WBS hierarchy level, you can mention the responsible manager based upon the OBS that we have designed. Like level 1 top management can be assigned at this level, and at the site that lower level we can assign the site engineer level also, if we have mentioned in the earlier OBS. Now let's see how to create the calendars. After finishing off with the WBS, let's design the calendar. You can create and assign calendars to each resource and each activity by which defines the workers in each calendar day. So to do this, we go to enterprise in the menu bar and select calendars. There are 3 calendars by definition in Primavera: global calendar, resource calendar and project calendar. Global calendar contains calendars that apply to all the projects in your Primavera. The project calendar is a separate pool of calendars for each project. The resource calendar can be a separate pool of calendars for each resource. These are resource based calendars. So to create calendar, you go to enterprise, go to calendar. To create project specific calendars, opt for project. Go to the next screen. If you would like to see, here you can see the global calendar, resource calendar, project calendar. You can add your desired calendar, user defined calendar, by clicking on this add button. If I click the add button, I can adjust this clicking on this work weeks, and I can adjust the standard work hours. By default it is 10 hours. We can adjust it to 12 hours if you would like to change this. In some projects there will be 7-day work week, then we can click on this and select the Sunday also by this value 0, with this the actual working hours. So this is how we create the calendars. Next we go to activity codes. Activity codes and values enable you to filter, group, sort and run reports for the projects based on the management requirements. By default it will be getting this in Primavera by default we'll be getting some activity codes by starting with alphabet or A letter and 5-digit codes, but at later stage you would be needing some code for filtering it out or grouping or sorting. So it is better suggested that we use this activity codes at the earlier stage itself, so that we may not face problem in the middle of the project. So to create activity codes, we go to enterprise and then click on this activity codes menu, and then we'll be getting the screen. Here these are by default codes. We can modify or we can add the codes here in the activity code definition window and close it after adding the activity codes. Then let's see how to add the activities. From here the actual scheduling work starts. Now let's see how to add the activities. Activities are the fundamental work elements of a project. They are the lowest level of work breakdown structure. For activities, these are the following information which we can enter for each activity. Now we have seen how to create the WBS. Now let's break this WBS into individual work elements that are activities. These activities are nothing but workable and measurable activities. So to list down this activity, we go to this expertise of individual WBS owner and we consult with them and we design this activity list. How minor you divide this WBS into activities, the more detailed the schedule it is. So people call it as level 1, L1 schedule, L2 schedule, L3 schedule. These are nothing but level of breaking to the ground level. So if you go into next screen, this is how we create for For the first activity I am saying this is the code. By default it is getting as A1000. I can mention the name here. There are these are the types of activities you can see here. These activities, these are called activity types. The first one is task dependent. When the work needs to be accomplished in a given time frame regardless of resources, it is called as task dependent, and duration is determined here by the assigned calendar. Here you can see the 7-day calendar, assigned calendar for the activity. You can even change it to other calendar for individual activities rather than for the complete project. You can even change for specific activities. You can assign some certain calendars. And the resource dependent activity is nothing but here the duration is determined by the availability of the resources of the project. These activity work independently with the schedule. And level of effort. These activity type used for ongoing tasks dependent on other activities. Here duration is determined by its predecessor or successor activities. This resembles the physical works like meetings and so on. Kick-off meetings and different type of meetings. Clerical work measurements. These level of effort activities cannot be assigned constraints. Next one is milestones. There are start milestone and finish milestones. Start milestone is used for marking the beginning of the project or anything important to highlight. Finish milestone is used to mark the end of a project or some end of the highlight. And remember, milestones have 0 durations. And the next one is WS summary. By default we get the WS summary because WS is a group of activities. Irrespective of that, we can add an activity with kind of WS summary when we want to summarize the WS levels for usually maintaining this manually. Next we go to activity. We have seen the activity types. Next we go to activity steps. Earlier I have mentioned that activity is the lowest work element in the schedule. Further, an activity can be broken into steps, allowing you to track the completion of those units. Like for suppose there is raft casting, and I can break this into, there are some 4 rafts in a single foundation. Then I can break this into 4, giving a weightage of 25% for the 4 rafts. So when I complete this first raft, that means the 25% of the activity has been done. Accordingly, I can mention the update the activity that 25% has been done. So these steps do not require duration estimates or dates. Weighted steps, these we are giving the 25% weightage for 4. These weighted steps can be useful for tracking the progress of an activity. Got it right? Next we go to activity percentage complete. Percentage complete type is 3 types: duration, physical, unit type. Duration type, the selected activity percentage complete is tied with its duration completion. If suppose for out of 100 days, if it is 10 days has been passed on, then it is 10% complete. Physical type is nothing but activities percentage complete is tied to its physical progress. Like if suppose out of 1000 cubic meter, 100 cubic meter has been completed, then we say it as 10% has been done. Units type, the selected percentage unit is tied to units type. For suppose there are, for an activity there are 100 man hours has been assigned and 10 man hours has been passed on, then it's been 10% progress complete. Then we go to relationships. There are 4 types of relationships: finish to start, finish to finish, start to start, and start to finish. And start to finish we rarely use it. And by default, Primavera takes finish to start as a relationship. Finish to start is nothing but successor activity can begin only when predecessor activity completes, and finish to finish successor and predecessor gets complete simultaneously. Start to start, both start at go. After entering the activities, then we do this relationship, assign the relationship between the activities. Then we get into assigning calendars and activity codes. We have created this calendar and activity codes in the beginning. So we assign for each activity. Like for civil activities, I will be assigning the civil codes. For structural, I will be assigning the structural, mechanical. So this activity codes will be used in future when we want to view this project by discipline wise. And scheduling. Once we are done with these activities and relationships and assigning calendars and codes, we press this schedule button, or else the shortcut is F9 button, and we enter here the current date. So we'd like to see what's the status of the logic when we have given the relationship between activities. Between the activities, that is nothing but the logic between the activities. So we'd like to see the complete project completion date. It gives the effect of relationships and durations linked to find the overall finish date. Unlike Microsoft project, the date automatically gets changed, but in this Primavera, unless and until you press this F9 button or schedule button, the dates won't be changing. So this is how we run schedule button each time when we make changes in the schedule, to see the real effect in the dates. The remaining portion shall be continued in the next video. If you would like to make use of my upcoming videos on Primavera, please do subscribe. Thank you.